What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, reviewing today Final Fantasy VII on the Nintendo Switch. I've been counting the days until this got released, because obviously, if you've been subscribed for a while, you know that Final Fantasy VII is my favorite game of all time. I've beaten it over 100 times, I've done live streams of it, and I've done total master files. That's where you actually collect every single item, every materia, and see every single cutscene, including the hidden ones, just to make sure you get the full experience of this amazing masterpiece. But really the question I want to try and answer today is it worth buying on the Nintendo Switch? Because I do know that there is actually a very hardcore fan base out there that only buys Nintendo consoles, and so because of this, they have never gotten an opportunity to play this RPG and see what makes it so special. Well, let me just tell you right up front, this is absolutely worth the price. If anything, it's actually the best value this game has ever been, since you're getting to have this giant, full experience as a handheld or as a console game. What I want to do here specifically is actually go through the entire game and really talk about what it is, why you should like it, and why you need to give it a shot, while also highlighting a couple of the very tiny gripes I have with this specific version of it. Now, let me just start off by saying, if you haven't played it before, Final Fantasy VII is a very epic journey that follows a man named Cloud and his group of friends as they try and save the world. But the big thing that really sets this apart from any other game you might have tried is the fact that Final Fantasy VII, when it comes to the storytelling, it completely respects you. It trusts your intelligence, and so because of it, there are always 100 tiny little subtle things going on in the background. Sometimes there will be a little tiny scene that pops up towards the beginning, and you don't see it again for 10 freaking hours, and later on they decide to pay that off. It's basically them trying to show you that in this world, not everything is a straight path. Everything is constantly winding around and coming back. Sometimes you'll see a tiny reference of, hey, this is a vision you're going to need later on, or oh, this is what this single line of dialogue means in the grander context. But that's part of the reason I absolutely love it, is it's a game that constantly wants to push the envelope. It constantly wants to try and basically say, this is how good games can be, and this is how great games should be. Some of the changes that have been made in this port, though, are very, very unique in that it definitely makes it much, much easier. If you're somebody who's never actually gotten super invested in the idea of turn-based combat, it may be a little bit overwhelming when you first see this. After all, some people see this as very, very slow and methodical, when it's really not. If you want, you can actually turn up the combat speed and the menus to make this stuff a lot more swift, but even still, the strategy of this game is definitely comes down to how much you're willing to grind and level up, how much you're willing to explore different dungeons to get hidden materia to unlock better magic. I love all this stuff though, because it definitely seems like Final Fantasy VII is one of those games that wants you to constantly explore. It wants you to ask questions and check twice and maybe just look around and say, what is really going on here? One of the things they've decided to introduce in this newest version of it is cheat codes. These are actually built into the game and can be accessed whenever you want. Now there's three main things you can do. No random battles, which basically makes it where you can run around completely safe. Triple speed, which lets you actually see the entire game, obviously 3 times faster. And the third one is full health and limit break, which is basically your special energy. These basically make it where if you want, anytime you get stuck, you can just breeze past stuff. Or if for some reason you decide to do a second or a third playthrough, or you're crazy like me and do a 100th playthrough, it is nice to be able to turn on triple speed and fast forward through some of the longer cutscenes or something just to see the next big battle. Now personally, I absolutely love the fighting in this game, so I do admit that sometimes I will just try and skip past some of the things I've seen the most often to try and get to that next cool boss encounter or summon that next giant monster, because I like leveling up, I like grinding, I like actually just fighting and fighting and fighting, and then getting that next cool scene unlocked. Now, I do want to talk just a tiny bit about what I think about the grander context of this. The biggest thing that's really being added to the Nintendo Switch version is obviously the fact that this is now a handheld. It's actually shown up on previous handhelds like the PSP and the PlayStation Vita, but I do believe that this is truly the greatest version of it we've ever had. The Nintendo Switch screen is glorious, and this seems to drain very little of the battery life, so you can easily play this for hours and hours and hours while on the go, and I actually love it for that. It's really freaking mind-blowing to see such great visual fidelity on this tiny little screen and still just be able to see everything that's going on. I love this version of it. I mean, I'm just going to say right now, instead of saying it at the end of the video, that this is by far my favorite version of Final Fantasy VII now, although I do of course wish that we had a physical version of it instead of a digital-only release. You've probably seen this already when I'm just talking over the gameplay here, but this is a very interesting port because it's actually taken from the PC version originally, so it makes it where all the different character models and the backgrounds have finally been put in HD. Now, when this originally came out back on the PlayStation, it didn't look spectacular. Now, we didn't know at the time, but it was definitely very, very low resolution. Having this stuff blown up to maximum fidelity, though, it is really cool to actually see every little tiny detail of the character models, and especially these really gorgeous pre-rendered backgrounds. It's basically like getting a chance to run around in a painting. I also like the fact that you really get a chance to see the more tiny minutia of things like this ship here. When I'm trying to sail across the sea for this one big part of the game, it's really cool to actually see all the little just infinitesimal things going on around you. I like the fact that this game, it seems to be such a grand representation of such a spectacular story. Final Fantasy VII has always been my favorite game ever since I got a chance to first play it because it's something that just has so much going on. There are so many different layers of crazy fights and trying to get stronger, and of course the really crazy turmoil happening within our characters. It's really, really neat just to get a chance to see this really heavy, complex world very brilliantly being unfolded. I mean, I'll fully admit that there were certainly occasions where after I'd beaten this game 4 or 5 times previously, I still was finding myself discovering new extra pieces of this really complex tale. That's why I like it though. Everybody has really deep and intricate human reasons. When people are trying to be motivated to do this fight, nobody's just a flat 2D character. Everybody is a human. Everybody has really interesting pushes and drives and fears that are all completely spelled out in such a brilliant manner. I love this game, and now that it's on here, I'm going to be playing it again and again. This is now going to be my primary way of actually playing it because it's going to be so cool to actually get to take this really crazy, deep, intricate, fun stuff everywhere and anywhere, anytime. I do want to say this port isn't exactly perfect. The two tiny things that I have to say I do have a little bit of a gripe of, it seems like there is some sort of glitch that exists in this version that I haven't seen in the PC build. It wasn't on the PlayStation 1 and I didn't see it on the PS4, but something about the pre-rendered backgrounds, if there's supposed to be stuff that's going to move around in a scene, you can actually see the spot where things are about to appear. Now, this only happened a couple times, but basically, if you're going to see a monster that's about to explode out of the background or something, sometimes you'll actually see a little shadowy outline. I think it's just the fact that they managed to blow this up to such crazy HD that the game itself is having trouble trying to hide a couple of its visual gimmicks. It's a tiny gripe, but it is something that I did notice. The other thing is, it does seem like some of the music when it comes to a couple of the movies, it doesn't seem exactly correctly synced. Like when I'm riding this awesome cart ride into Golden Saucer, it seemed like there was a little bit of a lag or delay. I can't tell what exactly is causing that or if this will be something that's going to get patched in a couple days, but it's something you do need to be aware of, is that occasionally, especially if you're playing this with headphones, it's hard not to notice these little teeny tiny errors popping up here and there. Overall, I gotta say that this is easily a game that is worth the price. It's something that just manages to be so cool and so different than any other RPG, and if you haven't played this, now you have the perfect opportunity to do so. You should not skip this game, you shouldn't sleep on it. This is something that you will not regret buying, I absolutely guarantee it. Okay, so let's head over to the ratings board and put a big number on it. I am giving Final Fantasy VII on the Nintendo Switch a 10 out of 10. It's so crazy that this game has managed to age in such a nice fashion. I really appreciate the fact that video games are such a fresh and interesting art form because we interact with them. But even still, I think it is this interactivity that managed to make them age so really good. And here this game is. After decades and decades and decades, it still really stands the test of time. Thanks so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. Oh my gosh, I still cannot believe this day is here. Hey, Square Enix, do us all a favor, release a physical edition of this. Come on, that would be so cool. I want to have Final Fantasy VII on my shelf in every single version that's ever been released. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.